Hi, class. Welcome. Now we're going into session four. Just a quick rundown of what we covered last session three. We were doing a series of questions in regards to what a franchise consultant like myself will ask a candidate to help them make the decision on the correct franchise for their life and lifestyle, income needs, business needs, employee requirements, or hours of the week requirements. So uh, we are going to continue that with a series of follow-on questions uh, that would also be in the same consulting process when I'm meeting with a candidate. So let's continue on. And just so you know, when this is session four, you could email me questions and I will get back to you within 24 hours related to the questions I'm asking candidates or I'm putting out in this class. So my email is fcaperino@franchoice.com. So FCAPERINO at franchoice.com. FRANCHOICE.com. So let's continue on. Uh, we need to know what areas of the country you are interested in. When I'm talking with a candidate, I really want to know where they want to put this franchise. And most of the mature franchises that I carry in my portfolio, or I would suggest to uh, a candidate because these were vetted out by my company already, uh, most of them, because they're mature franchises, are covered in all the states. But if there are some outlying areas that the territory is either already completely saturated and there's no territory areas available because it is a mature franchise, or they haven't filed in that state yet. Uh, See, several states you have to file paperwork with the Secretary of State in that state to be a franchise. And that's somewhere I hear, but sometimes I hear 17, sometimes I hear 19. Uh, Other states come on board, but the rest of them you do not have to file in. So, so some franchises might not be filed, or they did file and the process isn't over. They're waiting for the state to respond to them. So that's why it's very important that I need to know what areas of country you're interested in putting a franchise when I'm talking to a candidate. Financial data, very important. And this is kind of where, when I'm dealing with a candidate, a lot of times the system breaks down and I have to do more hand holding. People, I started out with a confidential questionnaire, and in that questionnaire, it almost asks most of the questions that I'm now putting out in this course of which should get asked, and to narrow down what franchise laws would work for this candidate. But at the same time, and sometimes I get back the questionnaires with all zeros on the on the questionnaire, and because people feel a little coveted about their financial information, or they don't feel like they want to tell you. When I was a financial planner years ago, I would, when everybody's always proud of their real estate. Maybe not in this market because we're coming out of a 4-year recession or still in one, and the real estate was really hit hard. But when you're talking about the late 90s and early 2000s when real estate was really peaking, um, what happens is people are proud to talk about the real estate. If I ask them how much they have in their bank account, they could have $10 and they won't tell me. But if I ask them, wow, your real estate, you're in that neighborhood industry, really going up in this market, they go, oh yeah, it's worth 500,000. I paid 200,000. They love to talk about real estate, but they don't want to give you numbers in their stock portfolio or in their checking account. It's just amazing. But if you start with something they love like that, where I would say, how's your real estate doing? And I would put this 4 funnel thing together because we're trying to put an estate plan together. 4 funnels I would literally draw, and one would be insurance, one would be real estate, one would be stocks and bonds, one would be cash. And all that money, when somebody dies, is going to flow down to one number that will end up in their estate. So that's what we're trying to do. So if I asked them real estate, they would usually gladly tell me, and I have the biggest part of their number, which is in most of all of our lives, the biggest part of our estate planning, that would be in there. And then I would say, well, how about some stocks? Or how are you covered with life insurance on you or your spouse? And what other cash should I put down? 10, 20, 100,000, what you got in the bank, And they tell you a number. So, but it starts with real estate. Well, the same thing is when I put out a questionnaire, people will usually answer all the questions that I'm asking you on these sessions to come up with the right franchise, but then we always kind of covered it on the finances, and half the people will send it back with zero. So I have to call them up, and I could be cute about it or straight and say, well, do you have a treasure chest that you forgot to put on here? Or do you have a relative that's about to give you some money? Because you have zeros on this thing, and no franchisor is going to let me even get to step one with them if we don't have any financial data. I really have to impart to the candidate that I want to get them, and to get them from step one to step two or three or four, where they are now talking on a weekly basis with the franchisor of their choice that we've narrowed down together. They're talking to the franchisees, doing a good validation process. So they're trying to figure out, how much they could make, or was the training great for the franchisor? Is everything the franchisor claimed in the franchise disclosure document valid? So the validation process is where you finally get the candidate to the franchisor, to his franchisees. So that's important. That's a big step. But I have to tell the people, if you don't give me financial information, we can't even get there. Because the franchisor is not going to give you the keys to their franchisees to talk to unless they see you have the money and the personality and the background and everything we work together to put this case together that I present to the franchisor to give you top of mind presence in that franchisor. Remember, a successful franchisor gets inquiries nowadays with the web presence from around the world. How do they differentiate you coming over the web from anybody else? It's difficult. So when you use somebody like me, which you don't even pay for, I will get you to the franchisor, but I have to write up that sheet that gets their attention. How much you're worth, what's your background, everything about you, your family, community. So it all starts with finances, let's be honest. The franchisor wants to see if you can afford the franchise before he's going to look at all your other qualities. So very important during this part that I ask you for your financial data. I want to know about your cash, your savings, be it stocks or bonds, because now we have tax benefits and retirement plans. We have tax benefits for retirement plans where we have other companies that work with us that you can start a corporation. Your 401k can buy half the shares in that corporation. It could be any percentage. I'm using half. And you can bring in cash from your savings and liquid elements to buy the other half of the corporation. Now your corporation is equally owned by your cash out of qualified plans or out of tax qualified plans money, and it's half owned by money you have, and it's still sitting there in your 401k, your IRA. You didn't cash anything in. So that IRA now owns half of your corporation, and you, if on the outside, own half your corporation. The tax law, to make it in layman's term, because we have experts in this area that will make sure it is compliant with IRS rules and the right annual forms are filled out every year for the IRS, is when you split the profit at the end of the year, half has to go back to your qualified plan, let's say your 401k, and half goes back to you as an individual or an S corp, whatever your entity is. This way, you've covered IRS rules. So your profit's going back into your retirement account, which everybody's going to love, and half of it's going to go to you in cash, but you're getting all the money. It's your retirement account. So those are some of the strategies and scenarios we like to work with our clients when they're looking on how to fund this, and a great way how to fund it in a tax effective way to grow your money. So that's why it's important, and it's so hard sometimes to get to the candidates who didn't give me the money up front. Why I need to know your balance sheet, what's your cash, savings, stocks, bonds, retirement plans, amount available for investment. That's what I'm trying to get at. What is your assets against your liabilities? What is your net worth? And what is your cash that you can invest? Most franchisors, almost all of them, are looking for your net worth and also your liquid position. And that's important. So we have to get that up front. And I ask those people up front, I'm going to send you a confidential link from our website and our server, and it's confidential between you, myself, and when we move on further down the road to a franchisor, that's the only people going to see it, but we need that to get to the next step. Okay, another question. Will you have in partner or investors? Because if you're going to have in partner or investors, I'm going to send the same confidential link to them because I'm going to want to know their net worth, and I'm going to want to know what kind of money they're willing to bring into this franchise so I can select the correct franchisor for you and your partner or investors. How active will you be in the business? How active will your partner be in the business? Questions to ask to make sure we select the correct one, and the one with how many employees we want or don't want, because I'm going to have to interview both sides now, because you're going to be pulled together to make sure you pick the correct franchise and how many hours that you and your partner are going to put in, so that's the least amount of employees we need. Do you have other sources of income beyond salary? Uh, we need to know that, because a lot of times the franchise tells you how much you need, and they also price in working capital for 6 months to get it established and running to be a successful business. Uh, but if you have other sources of income, or your partner has other sources of income, that's excellent, because that's less working capital you need to wait till the business is successful. So that's why we need to answer those questions also. What attracts you to owning your own business, and why now? What attracts you right now to owning your own business? And we've asked that in a previous session. How soon do you want to open it up? So it's not only why now, but how soon do you need to open up this business? Um, what do you like the most and the least about your past jobs? Again, this helps me pick the right franchisor that has the qualities you like to work with. And you could have said, well, I was a manager and a supervisor, middle management, or even upper management, and I supervised hundreds of employees, or 10 employees, or one employee. Or I was almost like self-employed in somebody else's business. Need to know that, because we're going to pick, how many hours you like to work, how many people you like to supervise. Is it an absentee model, semi-absentees? Is it very employee intensive? Or is it not employee intensive? That's why I'm trying to put the business model together for the franchisor that's right for you, the candidate. What are your strengths and weaknesses related to managing a business? So, do you like having all the employees? Um, do you? That's your least favorite. Do you like to do a lot of outbound sales, or do you not? Okay. Um, so we need to know that, so because some businesses have no outbound sales because they're retail people going to walk across your threshold, or others where you buy a territory and you have to make the networking connections and the outbound sales to get the clients in there. So we're trying. That's what we're doing in this whole series, is trying to put together the interview process and how to figure out a candidate and get them to the correct franchisor or correct couple franchisors. So they're narrowing down between 3 franchisors, not 3,000 to 3,500 in the domestic scenario franchise, which are literally impossible in anybody's time element. What are your major questions about business ownership? Sometimes we forget that. We're trying to tell somebody to go into a business, and we forget about that maybe we didn't even ask them about if they have any trepidations about business ownership, because this is really important, because they might never have done this before. I mean, even if you go in retail where you say, well, the whole blueprint is laid out for me from the franchisor, is this the first time you procured an architect? Is this the first time you had an architect build plans, even though you got the black lines and the equipment layouts and the counter layouts and the general beginning architectural drawings or outlines, like they call it, from the franchisor? You still have to have a local architect to put that into the blueprints, and the architects that his given city, or that he knows the area, and the code people downtown who are going to review those drawings and approve them for further building and give you the building permit, so you can go procure subcontractors, be the electrical, the plumbing, the counter people, whatever. You need the architect. So maybe this is all the first time for you. For me, it's very easy. I've done 8 of them. Okay, I've built 8 retail locations. Used the same, maybe changed 2 architects over those 8. Tried to, that architect though, and the general was picking, but I kind of used the same general most of the time, but he was picking his favorite, subcontractors and so forth. Uh, and the problems you come up with, and the delays, and the permits you got to pay, city permit, water permit. Uh, all this is, so we have to ask, what are the questions somebody might have about business ownership. Sometimes it's the first time they've done this build out on a retail, but if it's a territorial franchise and they're going to be working out of a home office or a small office locally to their house, let's say, or to the territory that they just purchased in this franchise, that's a little easier, because you're not going to have permits and build outs. You're probably just going to move in and bring your desk in. So that's not as difficult. So that's why I need to know if they've had business ownership questions, or they've been in this before, and what we have to cover with that, so they're not all worried and have trepidations when they open up. Okay, we've finished section um, 4 right now, and we will be moving into session 5. I have a series of more questions to be asked. We're getting very close. We asked most of the questions. You can see we kind of are almost ready to put together a business model on what the franchisee would want from employees, responsibilities, type of businesses, hours he has to work, income needs. We've asked most of the questions. I don't have many left, but we will wrap it up and finish that in section 5. Okay, thank you very much for being here for session 4, and we will see you at the next session.